Today I want to show you how to make a Strippy Sawtooth Star. Hi, I'm Kim Jamieson-Hirst of Chatterbox Quilts, and today I'm working with a Sawtooth Star, but I'm changing it up a little bit. Typically a Sawtooth Star has a solid interior center block, but I've changed it up a bit and I've included a strip pieced block. So that's the center, the core of our Sawtooth Star we're going to be making. So what you're actually starting with is this strip piece block. Now they're really easy to make, great way to use up your fabric scraps, and if you don't know how to make one, check up above or in the description below because I have a video that shows you how to make this particular block. In my sample, the first sample I have here, I started with a 4.5-inch square in the center, then I had 2.5-inch unfinished corner blocks, and I have these flying geese which are 2.5 inches by 4.5 inches unfinished. So that's what I used to make this particular block. But then I decided I wanted to up my game a bit and make it a little bit bigger, which means I start with a larger center block. So I started with a 6.5-inch strip piece center square to make this Sawtooth Star that I'm going to show you today. And to do that, I'm going to show you some of the tools that I've used for both of these blocks. For the initial one, the smaller one, I started with that 4.5-inch square, and to cut that after I'd made the strip piece block, you have to trim it all down. And I used this 4.5-inch no-slip square template from Martelli. I'm going to be using a larger one for the next bigger block. But I also used their 2.5-inch square. This is again the no-slip square template, and these come in sets, by the way. All of these I'm showing you today come in the same set, and that's a 2.5 for the corner squares. And then I have this 2-inch, you can see it that way I guess better, the 2-inch little square that makes the half square triangle. It's a half square triangle template. So I'm going to show you how to use that. The other ones are pretty simple. You put them down and cut around them. But as I said, they all come in these sets. The no-slip square templates. There's 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, and 5.5-inch squares in this set. And then for the half square triangles, this one comes with 2-inch, 3-inch, 4-inch, and 5-inch half square triangles. That would be the finished sizes of them. Okay, so we'll put those aside for now. And let me show you how to make the half square triangles. Okay, this is pretty basic. You make the square, you trim it down, you make the block I should say, then you trim it down to the appropriate size. But when it comes to the half square triangles, I want to show you how to make those. And by the way, for this particular block, the center we started with 6.5 inches, a 6.5-inch template, and then I used the 3.5-inch template for the corner stones, which I'll show you in a few moments. And I'm using the 3-inch half square triangle. Okay, so to make this, you're going to start with your two pieces of fabric that you want to make the half square triangles from, one lighter, one darker typically. And you put them right sides together. So I've got a white and I've got this kind of a bluey aqua blue with white on it. So I'm going to put this down. And so what you do first with these is you cut out around the square. This also has the no-slip material on the back, so it's not going to slide around. So I'm just going to cut this out. You notice I can just move it around here because it has that no-slip part on the back. Got a little bit stuck there. I think I need to trim here just slightly maybe. Yeah, just a little tiny bit. Okay, now I always want to just take that off, but don't do that for the half square triangles, okay? It's not what you do because you need to mark them first. So you see that there's this interior part that's cut out. I'm going to take a friction pen. You can use whatever pen you want. Something that will erase is a good idea. And I'm going to mark those sides. Okay, so you can see them. Then I can take my template off, set it aside for now. So I've got these two lines here. And my next step is to actually sew right on those lines, okay, because this is going to form our two half square triangles. So when I've stitched on those lines, I'm going to have them looking like this. Of course, you can't really see my stitching unless I flip it over. So here's my stitching on the back. And then the next thing to do is to cut these in half just down the center. So I can just do that. Just line up my ruler on the diagonal. You don't have to be absolutely precise on this because it's just your seam allowance we're talking about here. Doesn't affect the size of the half square triangles. And then you're going to have two half square triangles, all right? And this is to make the flying geese, by the way. I guess I should have mentioned that earlier, shouldn't I have? Okay, so we're actually making this part here, okay? And I like to make these with half square triangles. I find that's the most accurate way for me to make them. When I'm done and I've pressed these open, I'm pressing to the darker fabric here. Then I have my 2 half square triangles. So to form the flying geese, you want to put them together in this orientation. And you want to flip them over, and you want to stitch them together, making sure that these 2 seams line up perfectly, or perfect-ish, as I always like to say. Now, to do that, I find it's really helpful to use seam-aligned glue. This is from Acorn Precision Piecing Products. You see, I've had this for a while. But what you do is you will just open it up. You will put a few dabs of this in. Very little amount comes out. You don't need much. Line those up, press it, and then they will be stuck together so that you can sew along this side with your 1/4 inch seam. And if you don't know about the seam-aligned glue, and also I forgot to mention when I press these to get them so nice and flat, you see how flat they are, I use the Easy Press solution. One of the applicators is with a felt tip, so I can just run it along here, let it set for a few seconds, and then just put my iron down, and it gets my seams so flat. Absolutely love it. I have tutorials, or videos I should say, on both of those products. If you check up above or in the description below, you'll find those. I can't do without them. They've made such a big difference in the accuracy of my piecing and pressing in my sewing room. And when you're done with those and you put your half square triangles together, well, then you're going to get your flying geese. So they're going to look like this, okay? So you can see the nice and pressed flat there, and they're ready to be added onto my block. Now I need 4 flying geese. As you saw, I got 2 half square triangles from each of those when I put those fabrics together. So I need to do that 4 times, and I need to cut 4 corner blocks. So let's recap just a little bit on this block. I started off with a 6.5 inch square in the center, that strip piece square. Then I made the half square triangles using the 3 inch half square triangle template from Martelli. And then I also cut corner squares. I'm going to show you some different ideas here. So I cut the corner squares using the 3.5 inch no-slip square template from Martelli. So let's take a look at what we can do with this block, because there's lots of different things you can do with this rather than your traditional Sawtooth Star. Okay, so there's your traditional Sawtooth Star. So in our case, we would put the little points down towards the center. Let me gather up my little flying geese here, and keep in mind, you know, our seams aren't going to be perfect here because it's not stitched together. But if it was, I couldn't show you all these different examples, because there's lots of different things you can do with this block just by rotating and changing out the corner squares. Okay, so we've got them facing in, and we would typically put in white, okay, or light fabric in the top areas. And you know what? I'm not even sure if these are right side up or not. It's so hard to tell, but that's okay. So you would have it like this. So that's your typical Sawtooth Star, right? Okay, let's make a few changes and see what else comes up. Let's change out these corner squares first, and let's put in the same color as the darker fabric in those flying geese and see what that looks like. Okay, so when you do that, you get this kind of X shape on the diagonal, right? So that's kind of interesting. Now, what if I changed, I'm going to leave those there actually, I'm just going to change the orientation of the flying geese. Let's move them so they're flying outwards, let's say. And one more to change. So you can see that completely changes the look of the block, gives you like a diamond in the center. Okay, continuing on, let's go back to our light colored, or white in this case, corner squares. Okay, and put them in there. So you still have this diamond shape, but it's kind of stopped, if you will, by those corner squares because they're white. Okay, I have another one I want to show you, but before I do that, I just wanted to mention that you might notice at the bottom of my videos, there's a heart with a $sign in it. And that is your opportunity to support the Chatterbox Quilts YouTube channel. So you can donate some money to show your appreciation for the videos, especially if you're a frequent subscriber, or a subscriber, you watch my videos frequently, and that helps me to buy the tools that I use, the fabric I use to make these videos for you. It also helps to keep my cats in cat treats. So if you wish to do that, I would be very appreciative. Another thing we can do here, let's go back and just move a couple of these around. So let's change these, the top and the bottom only, keeping those white squares in there, and see what we have here. Okay, I don't know how to describe this. It's sort of like a star that didn't quite happen. I'm not sure what to say about that, but it's a different idea, right? What about if we change out and put those dark fabrics back in? You can see how the white kind of stops. Like I said, it kind of blocks the design, whereas this kind of pulls it out towards the edges. So we have that kind of a design. Again, quite different. You know, it's not as, I don't know, even looking. Say it doesn't really form a design like the star does, right? But it's something else you could try if you wanted to. So lots of different options with this particular block just in general. And then by putting in the strip piece center, it really makes it more interesting, I find, and it's a great way, as I said, to use up your fabric scraps. And if you're interested in any of the tools I've been using today, the Martelli templates that I've been using, check in the description below because you'll find a link to those items. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your quilting friends. And remember to subscribe and hit the bell so you'll be notified the next time I release a new video. And before you go, check out these other videos I've included just for you. For more helpful quilting information, please go to my website at www.chatterboxquilts.com.